Hey, this is Tracy Lewis from Stuff and Things. I am working today on my colored pencils, and I wanted to give everyone an update on what I'm doing with them and how it's going. So far, I have been practicing. The main reason why I bought the colored pencils was actually for enhancing my Copic colored details for my handmade cards. I do coloring books, not as much as I used to, because I didn't feel that coloring within the lines of these large 8.5 by 11 or so coloring books was all that interesting. And I'm hoping by adding the colored pencils, I can get more detail and spend more time. I actually like spending a lot of time coloring. I'm not a quick crafter, and I am not a quick colorist. And then the additional challenge to myself was realistic nature drawings, which are the types of drawings that I'm really impressed by. Since the other two items are already things that I would be able to do without a lot of practice, I have been focusing on getting started on the hyper-realistic colored pencil drawings, starting with cat faces. And that has been kind of fun. I've had a couple of good successes and a couple of failures, and I've been watching a lot of videos. But today's video is going to focus on all of the supporting things around actually using them. So I had made a list, and what I'm working on this weekend is the swatching and the storage of my pencils. So I have two sets of pencils right now. They're both Faber-Castell. I bought 60 watercolor pencils and have swatched those on the paper that I will be using them on. The trick with the swatches is they need to be done on the whatever type of medium you're going to be putting them on. And the only thing I have bought for the 120 polychromos is the drafting film. I do have some inexpensive Canson XL watercolor paper, and I am not going to swatch on that because that is not what that'll be for like practice coloring and sampling and different things as I watch videos. But for the real stuff I will be using a probably Bristol, which I'm going to get some of. I don't have any yet. I'm still reviewing, different price points and all that. The Fluid 100 Stampin' Up! Watercolor paper, I've actually done some research on, and I am very impressed with the reviews I have read. You can buy it on Blick and any of the art supply stores. I don't think the big box stores like Michael's and Joann's has it. Those are the ones, and then Hobby Lobby. But the Fluid 100 is an archival 100% cotton watercolor paper that you can do colored pencil drawing on, and I'm going to get some because it would be nice if I don't have to get so many different kinds of papers since I am in a very small space. So I'm trying to combine where I can, and that is going to be my plan, to get some of the Fluid 100 and put the polychromos on that watercolor paper. So I'll have the Canson, which I've already done the Albrecht Dürers on, and I'll show you that in a minute. Then I'll get the Fluid 100, and I'll probably do both sets of swatches, the 60 Albrecht Dürers and the 120 polychromos. Storage. I've opted not to keep these in the tins. The tins were cumbersome. They were too hard for my fingers to get the pencils out. And I bought these rolls. These rolls get good reviews. I wanted something long and narrow to fit laid flat on my shelving unit that I have right next to me here. This particular roll, I bought two of them. One is I think 70, has a 70, and they're little pouches. I will show you. And those I have the watercolor pencils in. And then I have an intention of buying one more set of colored pencils to go with the polychromos. I am considering saving my pennies for the luminance artist's colored pencils, but I have to decide, depending on how good I get at the realistic nature drawings, that will be whether I spend them more money or if I get something like the Prismacolors, which are not light fast and wouldn't be for doing artwork that I would want to sell. So these are the pouches. They hold 5 of the Albrecht Dürers per pocket, and then there's room. These are my graphite pencils. They're watercolor graphite, and my water pen all fit in this roll. And then you can protect the tips by folding down. This is like a double thick fabric. They both match, both have the same pattern. They're on Amazon. And then the second container that I'm getting is a zippered container that flips pages, but it's still very narrow to fit on my shelving unit. So that I don't want a big binder style that's oversized. I want to keep it long and thin. All right, so I've talked about the storage that I'm liking. The elastic is 1 pencil per, and it's easy for me to put them away and take them out. And one of the problems I'm having with these is trying to read the gold number and even to read the name. So this is a number that I can just barely read. You know, it could be 168, could be 156, 155, and it just is so hard for me to figure out what these numbers are as I'm learning the pens or pencils. So here is what I am working through. I am taking my label maker that I love. It's just a Brother P-Touch, and I am doing a double row on this is 0.35. My 0.23 that I was using was actually too small, and then the 0.23 broke, which I've never had a Brother label cassette break, but that one did actually break. And I've been printing these out 10 at a time. I cut them in half, and then I peel back the backing, trim off just the 1 number, and then I am cutting off the corners. These are so small that I want to make sure they stay on, and I have found that when you cut off the corners then don't peel up. And already it is so much easier to read the numbers when they're like this. So I will be doing this to all of for sure the Faber-Castells. I think that the Prismacolors are an easier to read, larger font, and it's actually silver. And then the Luminance pencils that I'm looking at, should I feel that my skill in realistic nature drawing is going to go in that direction, those are really hard to read. And a tall, skinny silver font, and they are, believe it or not, they're vertical along the top, so I will be labeling those. All right, so labeling is in process. I will show you the swatches I've finished for the watercolor version of the Faber-Castells, and those are the D means dry. I did all dry and then took a water painter and wet the top half, and then the little square on the right is a solid watered version. I see that over here I haven't finished. Not all of these have the square where I did a solid square and then I wet it so that you could see it as the most intense pigment that you can get with the watered down version. So I have to finish this one. This is on the Canson, and I will have to redo it on the Fluid 100 after I get it. The next paper that I do have is actually drafting film, and it is what a lot of the artists who do pet portraits use. It's not an easy medium to use, but I have had some success with it and I do like it. So I have created, I took a 9x12, cut it into thirds, taped it down with my washi tape, and wrote out each of the colors, and I'm going to go through, you can see where I started so you could see it's going to be left to right, the heaviest pressure to the lightest pressure, and it was 25 per page. I used the chart. My pencils already are out of order, so as I get this finished so that I can easily read the numbers on the pencils themselves, I'm going to put them in the color order per the chart here. I even find this chart, I have to put my reading glasses on because it's just the font's so fine and small. The names I've learned, some of the YouTube videos that I have been watching have the old names. For instance, 131 coral used to be medium flesh. 132 is beige red and used to be light flesh. So be aware that the polychromos have had a name change somewhere in their history. Somewhat recent history, because these videos aren't all that old that I have been watching. And I like to be very organized. I'm in a small space, so I really have to be organized. And I like to have my tools be easily pulled to be used. So that is the purpose for the round rolls and the numbering, so that I can quickly pull out the colors that I need. Another task on my list here, the last one, is the blending combinations. So the way Copics work is you buy them for blending, so you'll have a light, medium, and dark. And in many cases I'll do blends of up to 5 pens to get the very, very dark. And so online I've already started a Pinterest board called Polychromos Pencils that I am collecting any of the data around the color wheels and the blending color combinations. Some of them are like a light blue to a pink, you know, they're not even coordinating light to dark colors. Some of the kind of more oddball blends, and those are mainly for coloring pages. The way you do a realistic drawing is a lot of very light shading, many layers, you know, 10, 15, 20 layers, and they're not the same as the shading light to dark that you would do in a coloring page situation. So the blending combinations, some people sort, I'm sorting mine, as you can see, by the color range. But the blending combinations, people will store them with the 3 blends, and they're mainly the color wheel primary, you know, 12 colors in the color wheel, and how to get light to dark in that. And that would be a different sorting than for doing the realistic nature drawings, which uses a lot of the more natural colors, not these bright rainbow colors. So I'm tempted to sort my 2 sets of 60 in each section. Like I said, it zippers together. So I could have this one section start with the colored pages blends, 3 sets of 3, so that I could pull those quickly for colors, for blending or for doing colored pages. And then for the realistic nature type animal drawings, I would then move most of all the other pens, the natural colors, which I actually already have sorted somewhat that way. And then I would only be pulling a few here and there. So this is what I would call the natural colors. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. I even have enough extra slots here to have my ceramic knife, a couple of erasers. I did buy a luminance white. I'll probably buy a few more luminance in colors that the realistic nature artists who do videos talk about, a few other colors that just don't have them in the polychromos. And then I'm still on the fence whether I want to buy the luminance to enhance my realistic nature drawings. They would be overkill for doing little colored stamped images for my handmade cards. So that's all I've got. That's what I'm working on, and I figure I've got another couple of days to get the labeling and the swatches done. I'm still toying with which Bristol I want to try. I don't want to buy a bunch of Bristol. I would love to be able to just try a sheet here and a sheet there. I would probably have to go to an art supply store. I know that there is a Blick down in Seattle, but I'm way north of that. It would be a 2-hour trek to get down there. So I'm still toying with what I want to do about which papers I want to have. I'm pretty satisfied right now with the drafting film, and then I am going to get the Fluid 100 for sure. So that's all I got. If you have any suggestions for me, any thoughts, leave them in the comments below, and I will take any input I can get. And thanks for watching.